Hey, so I wasn't gonna even try this. I've been wanting to for a long time, but there was always something that made me not do it, some kind of doubt or whatnot. And I always saw myself starting a channel. I've had a couple different channels, and they ended up not working out for one reason or the other. Mostly my failures in maintaining a steady flow of videos. But I've been really getting an itch to start making videos again, and I didn't know where I was going to go with this. I was going to like script it out and all this, and I have a pretty decent webcam and for starting up, and I was going to like set up a whole thing, but I don't think it's really necessary. I think what I'm trying to say is a lot more important. Um, you hear a lot of this, there's a lot of conflict going on in the culture war between what we refer to as the left and the right. So, and both sides are very militant about our beliefs. Um, but I think I wanted to do something a little bit different. Maybe go with the olive branch approach because I don't see a whole lot of that because everyone wants each other to see their own side, and but no one's willing to extend that olive branch. First, let me just start off. I have a lot of things I want to say, so I'll start with the first thing that comes to mind and just go from there. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but I'm speaking mostly to people on the left, okay? Because I'm not on the left. But if you want to hear a little bit more of an intimate look into the minds of a lot of people like me, um, for whatever reason, even if it's just to have a little bit more ammo to use against us, that's fine too. But it behooves you to listen to what I have to say. At least I think it does. So what you need to understand is there at least in a lot of our opinions there is no left or right. All right, now this first part might insult you a little bit, but I ask you, I am actually as a favor to please stick with me on this. You'll see where I'm going with it. So take yourself out of the militant mindset for a moment. Just humor this if you will. Take yourself out of the militant mindset. Take yourself out of the us versus them, because that's what I'm doing right now. At least I'm trying to. And just humor this as a psychological experiment, because I can tell you with someone on this side, it's absolutely true. You don't have to believe me, but I think you may find some value in it, at least just something to think about if you really give it a shot. Try not to let your biases get in the way. Try not to let that immediate knee jerk reaction jump in and try to like debunk what I say internally. Just keep in mind, I'm on a screen, I can't hear you. So whatever you're thinking is not going to affect what I'm saying. So try to keep that in mind. Don't let those blind you. We all have our biases and they all blind us to a degree. So I understand. Trust me. I've been corrected many times. So, as I was saying, with all of that said about seeing this objectively and without biases stepping in, just humor it for a moment. With all of that said, keep that in mind. It is no left and right. No, there's really no right here, left or right, really, because there's really only two tribes. There is the extreme left, and then there's everybody else. Yes, you can argue that there's moderates that find things on both sides, but generally speaking, it comes down to a hard stance on either side, but especially the left. And that a lot of people have made the point, and it's a good point that's why a lot of left wing, um, a lot of leftists win a lot of things socially because they don't. Your side doesn't give any type of nuance as far as giving. How do I say this? You are not going to give an inch of saying that any of your people are wrong because it seems as though you see every voice is supposedly valuable in your fight, and it works to a degree. But because of that, which is an objective truth, you all stick together no matter what. It can be a strength, but it also often comes off a very, very bad look for you. And I'm not attacking, I'm just saying how you're perceived so that you understand. So in this culture war, let's be real, there is no left and right. There's especially no right wing like solidarity. It's the left and everybody else. Okay? So our side has a lot of libertarians, right wingers, Republicans, independents. There's anarchists. There's you name it, we have it. Your side has a mix of people too, but you all follow a very, very centralized um, theme of ideas. You don't really deviate from it except for in smaller, isolated um, occurrences. You all have a central push to a narrative, if you will. Whereas our side, there's a whole lot of infighting. There's a whole lot of um, you have your infighting too, and I'll get to that. But to my point, our side, there's a lot of disagreement, and we do call each other out. Maybe not as often as we should, but vastly more than you call yourselves out. We also forgive one another on this side. We also take people back like a family if they learn from their mistakes and they make up for it. Some things are unforgivable, don't get me wrong. And there are some people on our side that conveniently like to overlook things that are very much against what most of us believe. Don't get me wrong, there is a core central narrative on our side as well. But I think you know where I'm going with this. So let me advance this conversation, and again, it may be very, very difficult, but I want you to humor it for a moment. I want you to think of the situation that you're in personally. You don't have to admit it, and you don't have to say anything about it. You don't have to comment on it. But truth be told, there seems to be a lot of you who are in that sphere out of fear of ostracization, which makes sense because, going back to the dawn of mankind, the biggest fear is to be ostracized from your tribe. It meant death. But what I want you to look at is the fact that if you fuck up on your side, like, I mean, really fuck up, what are the odds of someone going to take you back? What are the odds of you going to be embraced once more by the people that represent you? Okay? So, from the way we see it, the reason we keep calling you a cult, or at least one of the reasons, is because you have to adhere to the narrative. If you don't, you're done. You're ostracized. You're sent to the wild. I would urge you to consider listening to our side a little bit more and seeing that although your side may shower you with praise and lip service and love and acceptance, our side actually does practices those things through actions and forgiveness. You don't have to adhere to everything. We have atheists, we have Bible thumpers, we've got agnostics, and we poke fun at each other for our different beliefs, but we love each other regardless because we are doing the right thing, and that is the most important thing to us. Doing the right thing, what feels right. All of these, you know, a lot of these things that you say and fight for online, again, I can't prove it and you don't have to admit it, but I have a sneaky feeling a lot of you know deep down that it is wrong, that these things are wrong. Why do you hate bigots? Because if to a bigot, if someone doesn't think the way that they think, then they put them below them. Take racism, you guys focus so much on the effects of racism, on the effects of bigotry. That's cause and effect. I want you to think of the essence of what those things are. which is basically, in a nutshell, I know there's a lot of nuance depending on what terminology you're using, but in a nutshell, you're taking you're taking the way someone thinks, acts, lives, and putting it below you, because you don't agree with it. Now, our side may be guilty of that sort of thing, but the common thread is it doesn't matter where you come from, what you do, what you believe. If you're doing the right thing, not hating people, not judging people, um, not talking about their ideas. I'm talking what they are innately are and what they're fighting for. Then we will accept you. We will still love you as a person. But if your side fucks up even once, you are scarred. You are stained for life. Now I can hear your alarm bells going off. Like, what about trans people? What about LGBT movement, etc. I need you to really, really, really dig deep here. I need you to really, really set your biases aside. Are we attacking trans and LGBT people for being them? No. We are attacking the ones that are outspoken and stating things that don't make sense in the real world. I'm not talking about trans stuff. If they're a man or a woman, we can debate that. But we're talking about the smear merchants. We're talking about the people that are saying that we, as just a race of people, innately hate certain people. That we, because we don't agree with 100% with a specific ideology that's going around, that we are full of hatred and we want harm to come to people, because the ideology is designed to tell you that if you don't agree with it, then you are hellbent on destruction of those groups of people. And it's not true. Now, again, your alarm bells are going. You're wanting to argue with this. I get it. I need you to set that aside. Remember, this is an olive branch. I am getting to that. I am. But, sorry, my neighbors are making a lot of noise. What was I saying? One thing that we all have in common. Yes, some of us believe in religions that don't make sense to people. Some of us believe in certain types of practices that don't really make sense. But here on the physical plane of existence, what we see, what we experience, does not add up to the narrative that is being pushed. And I want you to ask yourself the same question. Does it add up? Not what people have told you, not your confirmation bias, not the stuff that everyone around you is constantly flooding your mind with. But does it add up to the reality you see before your eyes? And once you admit to yourself that the answer is no, you take the next step. Because truth will always guide you in the right direction. Again, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about spiritual beliefs. I have my own spiritual beliefs. It has nothing to do with religion. Everyone's got their own theories on what is outside of this world. That's not what we're talking about. And to be honest with you, a lot of us, I know you don't want to admit it, a lot of us are very much against pushing religion on other people as well. Because think about this. What is a religion? Take the God aspect out of it, whatever. The part that's like the part that you need faith for that you can't really prove, take that part out. What is a religion when it comes down to it? Organized religion. It's an ideology. That's all it is. Okay? Now, your side has a very specific ideology. And in order for something to be accepted as objective truth, you have to convince both sides, or every side, that it's real. That's why we have religions outside of the objective truths of the real world. Your side is demanding the faith in stuff that has not been objectively proven to us. Very few of us have closed the door to it being proven, It's just the information has not been given to us in a way that is inarguable, at least not to the point of forming our entire world around it and ostracizing people as a second class citizen if they don't take it hook, line, and sinker. Doesn't matter how many studies you have, it doesn't matter how much like scientific jargon you have behind it. If there's holes in the theory, science has to have as few holes in the theory in its theories in order for people to accept it as objective truth. And you're taking things that, although it may feel 100% right for you to believe it, just like Christianity. Again, I'm not saying it is a religion, I'm saying it's an ideology. You're taking something that feels in your heart, you have, this faith that you're pushing forward with, and expecting everybody to agree with it because it makes so much sense to you. And on the back end, you've got this very detailed, nuanced ideology, um, telling you that anyone who doesn't just fall into line with it is an evil, horrible, racist, bigot, white supremacist, subhuman person, just like Christianity did back in the day, just like some Christians do now. It is the exact same thing. And honestly, if you were to look at it through that lens, I think you would see why there's so much wrong with it. It's strange, isn't it, that every single thing that the government is doing matches what you believe in. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that every single thing that the government is pushing matches your ideology? And every single thing the government is pushing matches big media. You call us conspiracy theorists, but think about this. When in history has the government, the federal government, ever cared about anything more than their own power? Name one. Name any time in history that any government has cared more about anything than its own power. When the government was very right wing, not so long ago, honestly, some would argue that it is still right wing, but we won't go there right now. That'll just complicate things. When the government was very, very right wing, and you all rallied against it, and the tables were turned, and you were belittled and criticized and told to shut up and told you were crazy and told like you're just a bunch of hippie crazy people that want to destroy America. And all those same people are still in that government. You can't say that, oh, they've changed because they care about you, but then demonize everybody else who doesn't, that had made a mistake 10, 20 years ago, for, you can't demonize them at the same time praising the government and just assuming that they care about you. Reach deep down and ask yourself, is it that the government is doing the right thing, or is that it's pushing what you believe in? And why did you hate the church? Because it was pushing something you couldn't possibly wrap your minds around. And even if you respected other people's beliefs, you were still being persecuted for the thing that they couldn't possibly convince you exists, which is God and religion. The whole reason the left used to rally against the church and state at the same time was because they were trying to merge and they were pushing the same set of values, because at the time the country mostly believed in those values. And now the tables are shifting and you are doing the same thing. You used to say people were so, and you still say it about conservatives. used to say people were, the big evil in the world was the government making you adhere to something you couldn't possibly believe. And they backed it up with circular arguments. And now look at what you are doing. You know, you know deep down your arguments fall apart, and you need the government to control everything through media, through culture, so that, and you need to censor it online. That's why you need to do those things, because you know that under scrutiny, these arguments do fall apart, at least in some people's eyes. You used to criticize the government for forcing their beliefs and punishing those who don't adhere to them. You used to criticize people for that, but how can you criticize that when you have become the very thing that you used to rally against? And I behoove you to go back throughout however long you want online, and you'll see a common theme. And it's basically everything I just said about that. You also don't understand that these things you're pushing are going to turn around and crush you one day. You are giving the government so much power to where it started with little things like that's how I'm not saying you're brainwashed, but that's generally how propaganda works. You start with small little ideas, you see how the population reacts, then you push more and more, you see how much, how they react to more narratives, more pieces of the narrative, and eventually it you the government can say anything, and the people are just on board with it. That's how every atrocity in history has happened. I'm fucking that all up, but you understand what I'm saying. You call us all conservatives, but we're not all conservative. Most of us, well, not most, a lot of us are actually true liberals. Liberalism is seeing the wrongs in society, no matter how you may personally feel, and seeing that they are objectively wrong and standing up for it. That's what liberalism always has been. You are far more conservative than anybody outside of your sphere, because for the most part, conservatism upholds the status quo. And no, conservatives don't get mad at me. I know what real conservatism is. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the practice, the way the left sees it. You're not liberal at this point. You've been conditioned to believe that anything outside of the narrative makes us bad people and subhuman. And you need to see that. Because when the tables turn, and they will, when the tables turn, you will forever be known as authoritarian fascists. It's just strange. All the things that the government is filtering down to send into the into the culture war is right along the lines of, you know, what you believe already, and then it's crafted to translate to basically projecting the atrocities that are being committed by the establishment onto us, saying that we're doing it. And the thing is a lot of you know this. A lot of you feel it deep down. If you say or do something, does it feel good? If it doesn't, it means it's not right. And if you were to just try it one day, just try, and without saying, "Oh, but your side doesn't listen." Don't do that. Just try it. Listen to the people on the outside of your spheres, and then do whatever you need to do to test it honestly. You know what you're doing is wrong. All the things that you accuse, all the things that you accuse our side of doing, have been done in the past by conservatives to an extent. past atrocities, you're not completely wrong on that. But and we can go back, we can have a whole debate on like the way the parties were originally formed. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to extend an olive branch, so bear with me. I'm saying you're not completely wrong on everything, but you need to look at the situation now and all the things you hate: bigotry, racism, um, slavery. Think of what the essence of those things are. Why are you supposed to hate that? Not because of the effects they cause. That's a blinder. That's blinding you. Why are those things innately bad? And you're doing them all. Slavery, for example, you rally against slavery. You know, you always hear the argument, "Oh, no one's alive anymore from slavery," and then you use the whole ripple effect argument, etc. And then you say how that leads to systemic issues and all that. But why is slavery itself bad? Because it does what you're doing to everybody right now, mentally at least. Slavery is not just bad if it affects black people. Slavery is bad because it takes people's agency away and their freedom of thought and their personhood. And again, all the atrocities of the church, all of the atrocities of the right wing in the past, where the right had power over everything and had an iron grip on people's thought, and you were a bad person if you didn't follow these tenets, and you deserved something bad to happen to you so you could learn your lesson. That's why it was bad. And you can't keep going down this path of being the same way, because I know none of you are happy. Look at how many people are happy not even the right, on the other side, because we know we're speaking out about the right thing. And we can go to our graves knowing that we always stood for the right thing. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about like the trans debate. That's a really nuanced thing, and we can get into that at some point. We're saying what you're doing is horrifically wrong on a grand scale. And you know that. And part of the reason you're trapped, please stay with me. Don't turn this off. The reason you're trapped is because you're fearful that you will be ostracized. You know that your friends will condemn you. You know that some of your families will not want to speak to you again. You will be shunned on social media, and everything that you are will be destroyed. Isn't that weird? Isn't there something weird to that? That your side is fancying themselves the good guys, but you can't question them being good, because if you question them being good, you'll be destroyed. That needs to strike a chord with you if you're going to survive. That they will dispose of you the second you step out of line. That is a survival thing. You need to get out of there. You need to get out of there fucking ASAP. You don't have to join the right or join the other side. Start talking to them. Like respectfully talking to them. Don't attack them. And see the breath of fresh air of a group of people who just want to save humanity. So that sounds really, really lame. They want to preserve freedom and truth, and you know they do. The whole trans thing, the individual civil rights debates, those are different, but they're related. But you can debate those. But you're supposed to be able to debate those as people who don't see each other as scum who should be killed. because 99% of our side do not see you as that, no matter how much you're told. You have to be told that because you have to believe that about us in order to keep doing what you're doing. And if you go through life that way, you will die miserable and unhappy and terrified. You will never be your own person. You will never be celebrated for the important things about you. You're being celebrated for what you add to the ideology. That's why you guys are constantly having to come up with new stuff to add and be creative about to show how faithful you are. You know this. This is not me attacking you. You need to know this to survive. You need to get out of there. Again, I'm getting off track. You don't have to join the other side. But for your own fucking sanity and salvation, just start testing the waters, and you can even like look into how we treat people who fuck up. The ones that fuck up against the values of freedom and truth and liberty and come back and say, I fucked up, we're going to give them a really fucking hard time. We're going to say you have redeeming value because you've come back. Those who fucked up and just basically leave a gross taste in people's mouths, you'll see we don't go after them all the time. We don't tear them apart. We don't take them down. The ones that completely betray us and go against everything that they said they were, and it turns out they were liars the whole time, and they keep moving forward to help the establishment and the government, and to they were a false person to begin with, and they're doing damage from the other side now with the knowledge they've gained from our side. Yes, we do tear them apart, and they deserve it. But on our side, if you fuck up, like moderately, we're going to take you back because we love you as a person and we want everyone to be free and equal. We want everybody to be, but again, I know your alarm bells are going off. You're automatically saying you don't want equality, you want blah, blah. Stop doing that for a second. Those are discussions that we can get into on how to best handle it. That's how liberalism works. I know that hasn't like really been celebrated on your side. That's literally how liberalism works. Liberalism is it's what has given us everything good as a free society. It's liberalism and conservatism working as kind of a back and forth, like pressure plates, pushing back and forth until it settles on what's good and what the people believe. That's what liberalism's supposed to be. Liberalism is supposed to push against conservatism to get the perfect result, and the conservatism is supposed to keep liberalism from going fucking haywire. That's why it's set up that way. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but you get what I'm saying. You need to understand you are in a very harmful set of ideologies that do nothing but feed off of you and need you to be an attack vector for the other side. We are on the defensive, so we too are very militant, of course, but we will not use people on such a grand scale. And I'm not blaming you, the person watching this video. None of this is about you. It's how you've been trapped. You're trapped, and you know that. Most of you know that, and a lot of people will attack me for this, and I don't care. And people on the other side, you can call it the right if you want, but it's not the right. It's everybody else but you. And yes, you have like libertarians and stuff and anarchists on your side, etc. But I think you'll find a lot more diversity of thought on our side, which is another sign of true liberalism. Surprise, the real liberals are not on your side anymore. The perverted version of liberalism is on your side. Where was I going with this? Yeah, but anyway, you're being used for the cause, whereas our cause